Hello, this is the Bad Actors Club, where every day I do an acting challenge. Today's acting challenge is to do a randomly selected comedic monologue. It is from the play Gilbert or Frank, written by Terrance Mosley. Since these are randomly chosen by raffle, it ended up being the comedic monologue of a black man in his 20s, anywhere from 20 to 40 years old. So, but it's actually a good piece, so I'm excited to do it, despite the fact that the casting is terrible today.
When we moved here, my parents wanted me to go to the best public school available, so we got this tiny-ass apartment right next to these million-dollar homes, and I went to school with white kids. Mind you, I'd seen white people, I just never really was friends with one. First day of school, dressed like I always dress, which was fine, especially the first day of school. We're running late, and I didn't have time to brush my hair, so I took my brush to class with me. I'm in homeroom, the teacher leaves, and this kid immediately starts in on me, talking about, why are you brushing your hair? To which I replied, I know how to take care of myself. So, shut the fuck up. He then takes my brush, and the kids start throwing it around the room. One of the kids puts my brush in his book bag. I went to get it. Get out of the way, dumbass. Let me take it. I'll take that, dumbass. And the teacher walks in, and right as I grab it, I had to try to tell her it's my brush. It's my brush. And she said, you have no hair to brush. So I spat in her face. I got expelled. My dad kicked my ass when I got home. I was 14, crying like 5. I have this theory, no matter how old you are, your parents beating you will always make you cry. We moved to a neighborhood with a lot more black people, with a lot more space, for a lot less money. I promised my parents I wouldn't do that to them again, that I wouldn't take them through that embarrassment. They understood why I did it, but what's pride worth when coupled with embarrassment? And I sort of agreed with them, so I said, okay. At least I can keep my pride. When we first moved here, my parents wanted me to go to the best public school available. So we moved into this tiny apartment right next to these million-dollar homes. And I went to school with white kids. Mind you, I'd seen white people. I just never was friends with one. First day of school, dressed like I always dress, which was fly, especially the first day of school. We're running late, and I didn't have time to brush my hair. So I take my brush with me to class. I'm in homeroom, my teacher leaves, and this kid immediately starts in on me, talking about, why are you brushing your hair? I replied, because I know how to take care of myself, so shut the fuck up. He then takes my brush, and the kids start throwing it around the room, and one of the kids puts my brush in his book bag. I went to get it. Get out of my way, dumbass. And the teacher walks in right as I grab it. I tried to tell her that's my brush. That's my brush! And she said, you have no hair to brush. So I spit in her face. I was expelled. My dad kicked my ass when I got home. I was 14, crying like 5. I have this theory that no matter how old you are, your parents beating you will always make you cry. We moved to a neighborhood with a lot more black people, a lot more space, for a lot less money. I promised my parents I wouldn't ever do that to them again, that I wouldn't take them through that embarrassment. They understood why I did it, but what's pride worth when coupled with embarrassment? And I sort of agree with them. So I say, okay, at least I can keep my pride.
What When we moved here, my parents wanted me to go to the best public school available. So we moved into this tiny apartment right next to these $1 million homes. And I went to school with the white kids. Mind you, I'd seen white people. I just never really was friends with one. First day of school, dressed as I always dress, which was fly, especially on the first day of school. We're running late, and I didn't have time to brush my hair, so I took my brush with me to class. I'm in homeroom, the teacher leaves, and this kid immediately starts going in on me, talking about, why are you brushing your hair? To which I respond, because I know how to take care of myself, so shut the fuck up. He then takes my brush. The kids start throwing it around the room. One kid puts my brush in his book bag. So I go to take it. Get out of my way, dumbass. And right as I'm about to grab it, the teacher walks in. I tried to tell her it was my brush. It was my brush, you know. And she said, you have no hair to brush. So I spat in her face. I was expelled. My dad kicked my ass that day. I was 14, but I cried like 5. I have this theory, no matter how old you get, your parents beating you will always make you cry. We moved into a new neighborhood with a lot more black people, a lot more space, for a lot less money. I promised my parents I wouldn't ever do that to them again, that I wouldn't take them through that embarrassment. They understood why I did it, but what's pride worth when coupled with embarrassment? And I sort of agree with them. So I said, okay, at least I could keep my pride then.